What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we've got an administrative civil war going on right now. That's to say the least, if you will. Every single action that Donald Trump is taking is being fought in the courts, and they're issuing injunction after injunction after injunction, and that is not even to speak of these nationwide or universal injunctions that they've been imposing on the Trump administration's actions, as if the executive branch doesn't have any authority to do anything, right? That there's calling into question, if you will, of these injunctions because it rules outside of what the immediate courtroom, and a judge should not be able to do this. There's a whole bunch of questions going on about this right now, and it's something that absolutely needs to be answered, because currently right now these lower court judges are doing every single thing they can to stop the Trump administration from carrying out its constitutional duties, as a matter of fact, and it's all getting absurd, and it's working its way up to a boiling point, if you will. It is getting to the point to where I'm expecting, any day now for the Trump administration to come out and say, we've heard your orders from the court, now enforce them, please. I'm like seriously waiting on this, and, for certain issues, I would be totally fine with that, to be honest with you, because at this point, these judges, they are just deranged as hell, right? To think that the executive branch does not have any authority to do anything. They have to go through the courts to do anything. Like, what I'm getting at here is, if you look at all these injunctions, it's like a third of all injunctions have been placed upon the Trump administration, for crying out loud. Like, there was no injunctions on deportations under Joe Biden. There were 0 injunctions placed upon the Obama administration, the Bush administration, like 4 deportations. It is getting outright insane what is going on, but we've got another story where the news, they're trying to manipulate you guys. Once again, let's get into this. U.S. says Maryland man's deportation was in error. No, that is a blatant lie, as a matter of fact, and we're going to prove that to you guys right now. President Donald Trump's administration has acknowledged mistakenly deporting a Maryland man with protected legal status to a notorious El Salvador prison, but is arguing against returning him to federal custody in the United States because of alleged gang ties. Now, we had a White House press secretary briefing this afternoon where Karoline Leavitt says this.
Just changing subjects for 1 second. The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number 1. Fact number 2, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number 3, this individual was a member, actually a leader, of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number 4 is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore, and it is within the president's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping. And every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia. And the president, the attorney general, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
Okay, so that totally refutes that right there. See, they're taking a clerical error and turning this into, oh, he was mistakenly deported. Like, no, come on, news, please, for crying out loud, for God's sake, if you will, please stop lying to everybody. We're getting sick and tired of the lies of the corporate press, right? The guy's not coming back. Now, we could say he's just an alleged gang member. We don't know outright, because, once again, to actually prove it, you would have to be there while he was doing gang activities or whatever. Like, there's not going to be video evidence of this. There could be court documents. As a matter of fact, there is court documents. That's where she's talking about this evidence. That's why they strongly believe that he's tied to this gang member, to this gang, if you will. And he's not coming back to the United States. The corporate press, they're trying to drum this up. You'll see in this news article right quick. But it's just insane what all these judges, the corporate press, everybody is doing. They're trying to cry foul on this, and for no good reason. We're getting rid of criminals, and for some reason, they want to keep these criminals around, folks. This is a message that we need to push back on. We need to say, oh, the corporate press, you must be pro-gang member then, huh? That's what you guys are. People that just violate our laws, pour into this country, and they can just do whatever they want to, huh? Let's push back in the other direction on this, because it's getting outright absurd with some of these narratives from the corporate press, y'all, and I really can't stand it. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials admitted in a court filing on Monday night to an administrative error in deporting the 29-year-old man, generating immediate uproar from immigration advocates. Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, was arrested on March 12th after completing a shift as a sheet metal worker apprentice at a construction site in Baltimore, according to a complaint filed in federal court by his lawyers. Huh? So, this was just a guy. He was there with his family, this alleged gang member. Right. Like we're going to believe the corporate press at this point. Like, these narratives are just getting so absurd. Like, this was just some dude. He was a legal permanent resident. That's what you'll hear a lot from a lot of people. He was a legal resident. No, as a matter of fact, he wasn't. Abrego Garcia was then sent to a notorious prison in his home country, the Terrorism Confinement Center, or CECOT, which activists say is rife with abuses and where inmates are packed into cells and never allowed outside. Most jails, people don't really go outside. I spent a month in our parish jail and didn't go outside one time. An entire month. But you love how they put that. Activists say, are these, let me ask the question, it must be asked, are these the same activists that say, when it comes to racism, that silence is violence? Is this the same activists that say, anything is you're committing violence against me? For even speaking to them, misgendering them, for crying out loud. That's a genocide because you're denying their existence. Is this the same activists? Because if it is the same activists, then I don't believe you guys. I don't believe you guys at all. But outside of that, getting past that, like, it's a gang member. What do you expect? Who cares? I mean, seriously. You live by the knife, you die by the knife. That's how I see it. But he was placed at CECOT despite an immigration judge's ruling in 2019 that he not be deported to El Salvador because he had established it was more likely than not that he would be persecuted by gangs, according to his lawyer's complaint. That was in 2019. That case has gone bye-bye. Yeah, he is now back on the streets, as a matter of fact, apparently working as a sheet metal worker. And, that's not relevant anymore, by the way. You love how they threw that in there, huh? That was a 2019 case. That was, 6 years ago? Huh? So let me ask the corporate press, since they threw that up and they brought that up. So if somebody comes into this country illegally and then says, they're scared for their life, they want asylum, and an immigration judge rules on that, and then come to find out later that they have MS-13 gang ties in this country, I mean, does your ruling still stand? Because at this point, yeah, we don't really care that you ruled in such a manner. They've created more crime for themselves. As a matter of fact, they've been involved with something, because the new evidence that he's an MS-13 gang member, yeah, that's not from 2019. As a matter of fact, that's from recent. That's why he was arrested in the first place. See, this is what I talk about with narrative building in the corporate press. They just throw this stuff out there, right? Plus, this judge also, this is something else they're not telling you, that this judge also admitted the alleged gang ties to MS-13. Yeah, that's something else they're not going to tell you. Abrego Garcia left El Salvador when he was around 16 years old, fleeing gang violence, according to the complaint. Beginning around 2006, gang members had stalked, hit, and threatened to kidnap and kill him in order to coerce his parents to succumb to their increasing demands for extortion. Right? Like, okay, did that happen in the United States? Look, I'm sorry. The world is a bad place. There are many evil people in this world. We cannot accept all the citizens from all around the world into the United States. It's an impossibility. When these people come into this country, they claim asylum or whatever, and then come to find out they're known gang members or alleged gang members, I'm sorry, your rights are revoked in this country and you get sent back to your home country. It's insane, y'all, these narratives. But the corporate press refuses to tell you that legal fact. Although he has been accused of general gang affiliation, the U.S. government has never produced an iota of evidence to support this unfounded accusation. Yeah, except for that same court case they cited just a few minutes ago. The complaint stated, adding that Abrego Garcia is neither a member of nor affiliated with MS-13 or any other criminal or street gang, according to the complaint. But the complaint can say anything that they want. They can put anything in there. It doesn't have to be true. Abrego Garcia's wife later saw him in photos and video of him at the prison, identifying her husband through his distinctive tattoos and 2 scars on his head, the complaint stated. The Trump administration said in its court filing that ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, but still deported Abrego Garcia because of an administrative error. The administration argued against his return to the U.S., citing alleged gang ties and claiming that he is a danger to the community. The administration stated that his gang ties were confirmed at a 2019 bond proceeding and upheld by the Board of Immigration Appeals once again. Like I said, you guys, this was an oversight, and the removal was carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal and Abrego Garcia's purported membership in MS-13. Robert Cerna, ICE's acting field office director of enforcement and removal operations, wrote in a statement to the court. So, once again, this is the corporate press lying to everybody, because earlier they said, oh, a judge said that he could stay here. And now this guy's coming out making a statement saying, no, he was given deportation orders and then he claimed asylum or something, I guess. I'm not sure how all that worked out, but apparently the corporate press, we're having some sort of conflict here with getting our story straight. Because that's what did they say that was? The director? Yeah, Office Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations, Robert Cerna. This was an oversight, and the removal was carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal and Abrego Garcia's purported membership in MS-13. That's what he said. So that totally contradicts the earlier statement from much earlier in the article, right? Like, once again, a lot of this is based upon the fact that most people aren't going to read all the way through the article, because what they do something funny, like on Ground News, for sure. I don't know if they actually do this on their website, but they probably do. But they'll put like the first 3 or 4 paragraphs, right? And then naturally they'll break these up with ads, of course, but they'll put the first 3 or 4 paragraphs to where you read it, and then real small at the bottom of the screen, it'll say read more. But if you don't see that, you just keep scrolling, then you see nothing but ads and other news stories, right? Making you think that was all to that news story. And they do this intentionally, you guys. Like, they'll put this information, the contradictory information, past that read more. I guess you could call it like a block or something like that. Because if you just scroll, like I said, you don't see it. You won't see none of this. None of what we're reading right now would be seen unless you see that read more and you actually click on it. Then it opens up. It takes away a lot of those ads. And then you can read the rest of the story. It's funny what they do, you guys. It really is. They're insane to lie to everybody because they're so easily debunked, right? We could go and look up all these court records. I haven't done that. I don't have the time to do that. But once again, like I was saying, sometimes you don't have to, because the corporate press tells on themselves. Because, once again, like I always say, they can't just blatantly lie. They can put something on, oh, activists said this, or this person said this, and they'll always make sure and put that at the front of the article, to where, you know, before you get to that click wall or whatever you want to call it, that block on the rest of the article, you won't see none of the contradictory, the actual evidence, the actual info, right? So we just have to take their word for it a lot of times. And this is why I always say, if you ever read the news, always read all the way through the article, because a lot of times they'll take contradictory statements, or they'll take actual pertinent facts to the story itself and throw that all the way at the end of the article, like they did with this one, because that's all to that article, by the way, in case you haven't noticed by my railings over here. But it is getting outright insane in this country. Like, we just had a committee hearing the other day where John Kennedy was actually questioning a Trump nominee, somebody for the Justice Department. I forget what position, but he was asking him about these nationwide injunctions. And, you know, he asked him, you know, where in statutory law does anything say anything about, you know, these universal injunctions? And he's like, I'm not sure. And John Kennedy's like, I've read in on it, and it's nowhere, as a matter of fact. That there is no order, there is no authority, essentially. There's no statutory authority for these judges to issue these nationwide injunctions. So essentially, these nationwide injunctions are illegal. And if Trump gets word of this, that's why I would have absolutely no problem with Donald Trump defying these nationwide injunctions. Now, once again, for the case that was before the court, he would have to abide by that, the ruling for whatever person is involved with that case, right? Because that was the judge's order. You need to abide by these judges. However, if they try to put a nationwide injunction because of one person, one deportation, oh, automatically, you know, you can't deport anybody else based upon the Alien Enemies Act. Well, that's just absurd, isn't it? That's blatantly absurd, if you will. So I would have no problem with Donald Trump actually defying these nationwide injunctions. As a matter of fact, now, come to find out that they're actually illegal, and these judges don't have the statutory authority to impose these injunctions. Once again, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. But, like I said, he would have to abide by the order for, you know, pertaining to whatever person was in front of the court. Like if it was a specific individual or a group of individuals or for an entire state, which they can absolutely do. There is statutory authority for them to impose an injunction statewide, or for that district at least, but not nationwide. Not nationwide. So that's a concern that we have, because once again, if Donald Trump actually says that, yeah, we hear your orders, now enforce these orders because we find your orders to be illegal, what does that say about our judiciary system, folks? That's going to cause some problems, as a matter of fact. So, once again, like I always talk about, We have a constitutional crisis going on in this country right now, and it's not because of Donald Trump. It is because of these activist judges that are trying to rule outside of their statutory authority, for crying out loud, thinking that they have equal power to the president. That's not how the Constitution was written, my guy. Seriously, like, the Constitution is meant for branches of government to be co-equal, which right now, if we look at everything going on, we look at it, everything in totality, right? Like, everything. Currently, the judiciary is the most powerful arm of the U.S. government, because they're stopping the executive branch from doing anything. They're ruling, injunctions, stopping the Trump administration, actually not allowing him to enforce the law as it is written, as a matter of fact. So, what good is Congress at this point? What good is the executive branch? It's getting to a point to where it's going to come to a head, in other words, and I really don't like where this is going, y'all. I really don't. But once again, I can look at all of this in totality, and I hope Donald Trump does not violate these nationwide injunctions, even though he has every right to violate these nationwide injunctions. I hope he doesn't, just because of the precedent that will set. It won't be very good, y'all. But, once again, he absolutely has every right. This needs to go to the Supreme Court. There needs to be some sort of case about these injunctions. We need a countersuit from the Justice Department or something about these injunctions specifically. Then we need an emergency hearing to the Supreme Court to get the Supreme Court to weigh in on this, to see where this is going. Because, once again, folks, if Donald Trump violates a judge's order, that's gonna, the judiciary will crumble at that point, because how are they gonna enforce anything? They already don't have enforcement powers, essentially. They have the U.S. Marshal Service, but the U.S. Marshal Service doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of power. Plus, they fall under the Justice Department, so Donald Trump could just deactivate the Marshal Service somehow. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of emergency power to where Donald Trump could stop them from enforcing the court's orders. It's complicated as hell, but it's crazy as hell too. But I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one. It's getting crazy out here, y'all. But I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. I sure would appreciate that. Subscribe if you're new around here. That would also be very, very greatly appreciated. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay logical. Peace.